Now, let's go through some key concepts. First key concept is thinking in successful outcomes. Outcomes versus activities. And let me tell you a story which illustrates this pretty well. Back before the first Gulf War, before Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait, there was a general, Bill Creech, who took over the Tactical Air Command in the U.S. Air Force. Now this is 180,000 people spread all around the world whose responsibility was to keep planes flying. And when he took over it, they were organized by function. They were directed to repair airplanes based on very, very sophisticated computer systems. And he said, this is nuts. So he threw away all the computer systems, and he organized all the people into teams. And he put people, all the disciplines needed to repair an airplane, in the same team. And he said, these are your 20 planes, keep them flying. Put it in other teams, 20 planes, etc. So he created teams all around the world. After he went from this functional to a team orientation, right? He went from they increased 30% flying time. So the planes were flying 30% more. But after he was doing that, and after the productivity increased so forth, he went around to each location, and he asked each of the people, how do you like the new way of working? And one of the team members asked a question back to the general. When's the last time you washed a rental car? Asked the question to the general. Anybody here wash a rental car ever? No. Why not? Why don't you wash a rental car? It's not yours. That team member said, in the past, I was just repairing something on that airplane. I was doing an activity. Now we own that airplane. We own that it's flying. They had a visible outcome that if the plane's flying, they're successful. If the plane's not flying, they're not successful. So they went from an activity focus to an outcome focus. When you have an outcome focus, you get ownership in people. They're not renting. They own their job. They own that plane is flying. Okay? So it's very, very powerful. In business, it's really important. Anytime you delegate an activity or you're doing work, if you're delegating activity, you still have the ownership. If you delegate an outcome, they take the ownership. So it's extremely powerful. Outcome also, like emptying your head, is great for creativity. Because if you're doing activities, you feel busy, but maybe you're not accomplishing something. If you have an outcome focus, we're all lazy, right? So we're all looking at the fastest way to get there. And so we get very creative about how to get there in the quickest way. So the more you have an outcome focus to things, the more you have a clear target, the more creative you get, and the more you get done because you're inducing, so to speak, your own creativity to get it done quicker. So it's absolutely key to have an outcome focus. The best thing to do if you're running meetings is to start the meeting with the successful outcome is this, and make it clear for everybody. How many times have you been asked to come to a meeting and you say, what's the purpose? And they say, we need to discuss this. Discussion is not an outcome. Discussion is an activity. What is it? For what reason do we need to discuss it? Are we going to make a decision? Are we going to take an action? Or sometimes the outcome could be, we want everybody to understand the situation in the same way so that everybody can start running and taking action. But discussion is an activity. It's not an outcome. So the more you think in outcomes, the more you discuss in outcomes with other people, the more ownership people are starting to take, the more creative they're going to be to go get it. It's very, very powerful. If you run into any meeting and you don't know the outcome, ask the question. What's the successful outcome? If the person leading the meeting doesn't know, leave. There's some companies where they actually ask the question and the guy will say, well, I can't contribute to that, I'm leaving. But sometimes you go to a meeting, you're kind of guessing. Now, what is this outcome? So forth. So, key thing, try to force yourself to an outcome focus. It's not going to be easy at times because we tend to think in activities. But if you picture the outcome strongly, remember of clarity of focus, clarity of outcome, you'll find shorter ways to go get it. So it's very, very important. Second concept is to think and discuss in next actions and do next actions. Too many times we think at vague levels. You know, we think at a vague level, not at the next action, and we just delay and we don't do it. Now, I'll give you an example from the training I took about 7 years ago on this. There was a trainer stood up and said, does anybody have a project at home or at work that's not moving forward? And a lady put her hand up and said, my kitchen. I've been meaning to redo my kitchen for a year. Nothing happened. So he goes, what's the next action? She says, well, I don't know. Maybe I need a designer. Need a designer. You can't action that. It's still vague level. So, she goes, well, my friend Sally has a nice kitchen. Maybe I could use her designer. Still at a vague level. What's the next action? She goes, well, maybe I could contact Sally. Contact Sally is still vague. Well, what could you? Maybe I could call Sally. Fine. Is it less than 2 minutes? She said, yes. So he interrupted the training. She called Sally, got the name of the designer, and now she can move forward on her kitchen. So it's been 1 year. She's been wanting to do that kitchen, but she hasn't broken it down to the next action. And when you don't break things down to the next action, things don't move forward. How many things in your life are not moving forward because you did not break it down to the next action? Okay? I practice with what I preach, but sometimes I slip. My hair is long. I didn't call for a haircut appointment, and when I wanted it, it wasn't available. So I delayed because I did not write down specific enough. The more you think in outcomes, you have a strong picture and a target. The more you think in next actions, meaning you're going to have forward progress. If you think in very vague actions, the pressures of the world and everything will push it off, and suddenly you're saying, hey, I've been meaning to do this a long time ago, and nothing's moved forward. So everything always moves forward when you're picturing outcomes and you're thinking of the very next action that'll move it forward. So, for successful meetings, what's a successful outcome? At the beginning of a meeting, at the end of the meeting, you ask, what's the next action? Who's doing what?